Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I'm really excited. I'm going to make a boatload of cards in this video featuring the Handmade Holidays Spellbinders Holiday Card Making Kit. It's their like huge kind of deluxe holiday card making kit, which I love and look forward to every year. And this year, I have the pleasure of actually having 2 Easy Wonder dies to craft with. Actually, 4 die sets in total, but there's Easy Wonder die number 1 and Easy Wonder die number 2. Each of them has their own add-on, and so really excited. And what I'm going to do in this video, because in total I think I've made about 15 cards or so, and I'm not going to do a voiceover for the entire process, but I wanted to keep the whole process in just so that you can kind of see everything. I'll probably set a lot of this to some music after I give a little bit of an introduction for how I approached this card making session. Actually, it ended up being 2 sessions. I couldn't quite finish everything in one sitting. But basically what I did, I mentioned this once in a video, but I didn't actually show it, so I thought maybe I would film a card making session where I actually show what I was talking about. And that is that often when I'm crafting with the Easy Wonder dies, what I like to do is I actually like to die cut it multiple times out of different pattern papers and out of solid color cardstock as well, so that the solid color cardstock in the same shapes and you know, card making elements is also an option when I am combining these various different die cut elements from the Easy Wonder dies. And so what I did to start was the Handmade for Holidays card making kit has a paper pad that has 40 sheets, and there's 20 unique designs, so there's 2 of each. So basically what I did was I ripped out half the paper pad, and I was trying to just stick to using just half or less, and that way I would still have half a paper pad left to make more cards with. And I wanted to kind of start there, see how far I went. So from there I picked, I think in total it ended up being 4 different sheets of pattern paper. And the card kit does also come with some solid color cardstock to coordinate. And so I picked 2 different solid color cardstocks, and I die cut using my Easy Wonder dies. So for Easy Wonder die number 1, I basically just chose, you know, 2 pattern papers and 1 solid, and then for Easy Wonder die number 2, the same thing. I use the other 2 pattern papers and the leftover solid. So in total, I have a lot of elements, but basically I die cut Easy Wonder die number 1 3 times, and I die cut Easy Wonder die number 2 3 times. And that just gives me a lot of pieces to kind of mix and match between. Sometimes interesting things can happen when you are using multiple elements from the same die. So by die cutting the same die out multiple times, it gives me those different variations, which I have found have led sometimes to some really happy, happy discoveries as I discover new layouts that you can create with the Easy Wonder dies. And so I approach my card making session kind of like how you're seeing here. I lay out all of the ephemera in front of me, and I also try to group the ephemera so that, you know, I have my sentiments off to one side, I have my florals in an area, I have things that are foiled, maybe combined and grouped into another area. Just whatever helps me to organize a little bit. so that as I'm creating a card, one of the things I find is that with the a lot of card kits, but this one in particular, you can really take a card from something that's very classic to something that's very whimsical, and it really just kind of depends on the ephemera that you use. And so I find it helpful to kind of group things so that just depending on the feel, the look I'm going for, the tone I'm going for on the card, that I'll be able to find some elements that work. And because I've die cut the same dies multiple times over, I am able to create or use the same layout multiple times. So that's what you're seeing here. On this set of 2 cards, you're seeing the circle and the 3 banner flags that come out of Easy Wonder Die number 1. And then that skinny tall rectangle, that is actually from Easy Wonder Die number 2. And so it's nice to be able to kind of grab these elements, mix and match them, and if possible, what I try to do is collect up these pieces and, create multiple cards that feature the same or similar layout. And that's basically my approach until it gets to the very end, where I am really just left with like whatever is left over. And that's when it gets a little bit harder if my goal is to really just use everything and kind of only the Easy Wonder dies. But I managed to do it. I will say though that it's a lot easier in the beginning when there's a lot of choices and you have a lot of different elements. And these sessions, these card making sessions where I'm doing this, I feel like it's very freeing in a sense because it's more of an intuitive card making session. I'm not going in with a plan of here's a sketch, here's a layout, this is where I'm taking this card, but rather I am approaching this more like, well, let's just move some stuff around. Let's just see what happens. And so you can kind of see how cards start to evolve, how they start as one thing and then eventually become something else. And so that's part of the thing that I find a lot of fun about using the dies in this way, but generally just crafting in this way in general, because a lot of times this is how you can actually discover something different, something new, and it's actually a lot of fun. I say actually because usually I'm a bit of a planner. I like to go into a card making session at least with sort of an idea of what I want to do, at least one thing, one concept that I want to demonstrate or something I want to experiment. This card making session, the only thing that was a goal coming into it was just to show my process for using the Easy Wonder die and how I like to use it when I want to create a lot of cards. So, multiple die cuts. And this was actually just a happy discovery because in testing the Easy Wonder dies as part of the process of manufacturing them and helping Jamie to release them, I have to actually die cut it multiple times just on different machines, different plate combinations to make sure that it cuts well. And so ultimately that means that I often have a lot of different pattern papers that have been cut. And so I just discovered in the process of testing and having a crafty session with them just to make sure that, yeah, you can craft with these, you can create a lot of different cards with them, and the components work really nicely, both, on its own if you only have the one, but they work really well. You get a lot more bang for buck when you have both. And if we continue to do more, that's just going to continue to add value to the previous dies that you have as you collect more of these. So hopefully Easy Wonder die number 2 does well, and I get to do some more of these. I definitely would love to. And one of the things that I really do keep in mind is making sure that it actually works really nicely with the previous sets, so that you have a lot of variety, but in the variety also there's opportunity to mix and match the elements and create some really compelling compositions. So that's basically kind of my approach to this. The card that I'm working on here, this was actually a part of a live stream that I did where I was, I think it was either a launch during the launch week or something, one of the live, or a couple, I think, of live streams. I had mentioned that, one of the dice cuts out the word thanks. And I was saying that, it's a nice thing that each of these letters is individual. They're not connected. So that means that you could probably spell out a bunch of other words. And I had mentioned that in my launch video for the product. But in the live stream, I confessed to everybody that after having said that, I sat down to try to think of, well, what words can I create with the letters in the word thanks? And I really couldn't come up with that many that you would actually use on a card. Like, I could come up with some words, but they weren't really words that I would necessarily find useful in my day-to-day card making. And so some folks in the live chat were giving me a boatload of suggestions, and my favorite one, I think this came from Jana. If I remembered that wrong, my apologies. But the suggestion was Santa. How that's just perfect. And then somebody else, I think Jamie, suggested the word hat. So you could actually spell out Santa's hat if you wanted. And if you could find something like maybe like a holly berry twig or something like that for the apostrophe in Santa's. So I just thought, I just have to run with that idea. I have to make the word Santa. And I think in a future card, I want to try to get the full Santa's hat worked into a card somehow. But I really love I love that. I love crafting live for that reason, because all of you all watching, you're so creative, and that's part of the fun of actually having these dies and being a part of getting to design them, getting to test them, and seeing them come to life. But as fun as that process is, the fun really starts when I get to see all of the amazing projects that you all create. And so I hope that if you do pick up the Easy Wonder dies, I have a Facebook group. It's called Easy Wonder Inspiration. And I started this group so that folks who have the dies and folks who are curious about whether or not to get the dies, that you'll join, and we can share inspiration, and those of us who have the dies can post and share what we've made. And for the folks who don't have the dies and are curious, hopefully you'll get to see a lot of inspiration. I know for me, when I am shopping for products, I find it very, very helpful to see what other creations, what have other designers made with that product. And so I hope that you'll find that useful in choosing or making the decision as to whether or not to pick up these dies. And so join me over on Facebook, Easy Wonder Inspiration. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below if you want to join us over there and check out all of the various different inspiration. Now, one of the things I felt was a really, really good challenge was that I'm making Christmas cards. So the word thanks that's cut into this particular piece here it needs to have clever ways of being hidden. And surprisingly, I think I found some really fun ways to hide it. So for this one, for example, the thanks piece comes from Easy Wonder die number 2. And then what I did was I took the long banner from Easy Wonder die number 1. And it's just wide enough to actually cover the letters in the word thanks. And so that worked out really perfectly. It has a nice wide border. You can see that it's not perfect. It's not going to cover everything up, but that's okay because in the center, I plan to use some of those nested ovals from Easy Wonder die number 2, and that's going to cover up the gap that I have in the middle here. So this whole piece that I'm constructing in halves here, it's going to look like it's seamless, even though there's a big old gap in the center there, but you're the only one who's going to know that that gap is there, and the person who gets this, they'll just never know. So I had a lot of fun with trying to be creative about, how to hide that word thanks and how to use the letters and the word thanks that would work for Christmas cards. So I think that's about all I wanted to share about my process, how I approach making cards with the Easy Wonder die sometimes, and I hope that you enjoy checking out the rest of the process. Like I mentioned, I will just set this to some music. I'll probably speed up the rest even more. Up till now, it's been sped up by a factor of 4, but I might actually speed it up even more so that you're not watching a really, really long video. And if you have any questions, do pop them in the comments below if you have a favorite card out of all of the cards, and I will show a close-up and a recap of all of the cards that I end up making at the end. So you can also just fast forward to the end if you want to see the final cards that were created. Thanks. I'm not going to rejoin you at the end with a voiceover, so I'll go ahead and say my thanks now. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Enjoy the rest of the cards.